Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I tell you, I've been up and down the stairs. I forgot I was working in my upstairs chambers this morning, and well, actually, I was working yesterday and forgot that I left the cord upstairs, so then I couldn't find it. But good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a good celebration, welcoming in the year. What did you do? What did you do? Personally, I went to church. Actually, I did two things. I went to a wonderful celebration party on the bayou. It was called New Year's Eve on the bayou. They had bands and food and people from all over the city. So that was a lot of fun. And I got to take some pictures with some cool folks and did a few laughs before I went on to church and prayed up that that our nation would be covered, and that each of us that live in this nation will be covered, and around the world, that we would have a life free of being in fear. And then, of course, we wake up Wednesday morning, and terror has struck in New Orleans. So it's been one of those up and down kind of emotional couple of days. Like, well, it should be excited, but then you're sad for the people who have lost their lives and their families and friends. So it's been one of those days, but or period. But I can honestly say that the Lord's blessed me to see 2025. And so I'm hoping that I have some things to do in 2025 that will be beneficial to others as well as myself, So good morning, good morning. So anyway, I didn't do a poem this time. I because the word is so long, so I decided I was just going to focus on our word this morning, and then we'll come back and be better prepared by Monday of next week. But I everyone was telling me, well, you always work, you should take off, the full 2 weeks. But I didn't. I worked last week a little bit, and I'm gonna work today. And then this is the holiday. This ends all the holiday season for a while. Of course, there will be Martin Luther King celebration coming up, so I will do something for that, as well as Black History Month and Women's History Month. So I do try to keep up with a few things. I do. But let's get into this morning. How are you doing? Put a note in there if you. I woke up with a little scratchiness in my throat, although I've taken every vaccine you can think of. So I'm hoping it's just, the change of weather, because we've had hot and then we've had cold, and been going back and forth. So I'm prayerful that it seems to be okay. I just seem to, I think it's with the heat in the house, because it gets cold at night, but then it gets up to the 60s and 70s during the day. That's just crazy, but that's where we live. So today we have a pretty cool word. It's called mellifluous. Mellifluous. And mellifluous is the definition. I got it from the Oxford Dictionary. It talks about a person that has a sweet or musical, pleasant to hear voice. And I asked the question, do you know about anybody with a sweet and pleasant voice? Anybody? Now, generally, my voice isn't sweet and pleasant. Okay, I'm distinct in terms of what I say. I'm direct, and my voice is full. But sometimes you will run across people that you have to listen very carefully to hear what they say, because they're light in terms of the kind of vocal, projection they have, and they're very quiet, extremely quiet. And so you have to listen to say, did they say something that I need to respond to? And sometimes you don't know because you couldn't hear them, but they may talk in a sweet voice, quiet, unassuming, real, pleasant, Pleasant to hear when you can hear it, but they're pleasant. Hey, good morning, my niece in New York. Hey, baby, how are you? Love you, love you, love you, love you. Happy New Year. We'll talk later on today. Remember to call me. So this person that may have this mellifluous voice may be that person that's very special to you, because sometimes when you have a person that you love, it could be something you say to your child, could be something you say to your spouse or your boyfriend, your fiance, something you say to your parents. It's a quiet kind of thing, quiet, but you get it in. You get it in. But anyway, it says that when someone has this mellifluous voice, they're soft. It's almost liquidy when you hear them. It's like melting to the heart. It says it could be of a sweet tone, a dulcet, a honeyed kind of voice. It could be soft and liquidy, soothing, rich to hear. Haven't you heard some people that are rich to hear? You just love to hear them speak. Yes, yes. It says it may be smooth. It may be lyrical. It may be harmonious. It may be musical. But we love to listen to them because we know what we're hearing. What we're hearing is a way of it's calm. It's a calming effect. It's a caring effect, a loving effect. And we get it. We get it when we hear it. So I ask you this morning, are you one of those persons? Are you a person with a mellifluous voice? I am not. Yes, rich voice. Yes, yes, yes. A rich voice. Yes, Nisi. So when we break the word down, I always ask people, are you stuck? Are you stuck with not being able to hear well? And so therefore you can't hear that this person's voice is beautiful. I already told you mine was going to be rough because I have a little scratchiness in my throat. But the fact is I still feel good. I feel wonderful. But when we break the word down, when we talk about a mellifluous voice, we talk about somebody that has a musical tonality to their voice. When you hear it, you almost can feel what words they're saying in a musical, designation to your ears. You hear it. And so it says that having a pleasant sound, it's melodious or tuneful. That's what musical is when we're talking about a mellifluous voice. So it talks about tuneful, melodious, harmonious, sweet. I like a person with a sweet voice. I do. You could whisper in my ear. Now, if I like you, I'd let you whisper in my ear. If not, don't be whispering in my ear. Plain and simple. That's okay. Then we have musical. It says that it's also sweet sounding. It's dulcet. It's lyrical. It's lifting, because sometimes we can hear somebody. We can listen to a James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington. For me, Frank Sinatra, I used to love to hear him sing. Tony Bennett, they, even when they talked, it seemed like they had a rhythm to their voices. Their voices were just that way. But it says when it's a musical kind of lift in their voice, it says that it's lifting, it's liquidy, it's euphoric, and it's magnificent. So, you just think about that. Think about who you've ever heard, and it may be on screen, but then it's maybe it's somebody that you love, that they just have this voice that makes you want to turn around and say, yes, dear. Or a child. You could hear a child's voice, that innocentness. It's beautiful. You absolutely love it. A velvety sound. Come on now. A velvety sound. But when something is musical, it could be also melodious. It could be mindful, mind memorying. It's just something that is in your memory. You remember it. You remember that voice. It resonates in you, and you can say, wow, I still remember that voice. So when you talk about somebody that's musical, that's one way. But then when we look at the word mellifluous, and let me spell it, MELL. Good morning, Cheryl Anderson. I didn't even speak like I should, but I need to. Hey, Corny. I enjoyed my pasta. I shared it a little bit with my daughter, just a little. Let's see. When we talk, let me spell the word for you. MELLIFLUOUS. 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 So it's a tongue twister. But when we move on in our word, we did musical. Also, a mellifluous voice would be somebody that has, it's euphoric, kind of transcends the naturalness of it, kind of takes you higher. Characterized by a feeling, intense excitement and happiness. You're excited about it. You're excited when you hear certain people say something to you, or they're saying something in a movie that you love. You watch that movie over and over and over again, just so you can hear them say them same words again. We all probably can remember certain movies based on the memory that we have of the person's voice, the character they were playing. We just remember it. So when something is euphoric, that means it's elated. There's a happiness to it, and there's joyfulness. It's delightful to hear. It's excitable. When we hear something, sometimes somebody can say something and we get excited about it. It says it's exhilarating, jubilant, aesthetic, and blissful. So when we look at somebody or listen to somebody that has this mellifluous voice, we like it. We like it. We want to hear it again and again and again. Good morning, Adelia. How are you? Happy New Year to all of you on here. Ardelia, Cheryl, my niece. I always mess up her name, but her real name is Rhonda, but I be messing up her name. So Auntie calls her my niecey or niece. But anyway, when we look further into our word of maleficus, we want to talk about it being lifting. When we hear certain people's voices, it lifts us up. For the longest time after my father passed, my father and I were extremely close because he died at the age of 53, but he had his first stroke at 49. So he was a young man. And he and I were so close. I could just have him laughing, just about falling out of his chair with different things that we'd watch on TV, or I could tell him somebody said, and he would always find that to be so funny. But after he's passed, I could still hear him calling my name for years and years after. I don't hear it as much now. I can still hear my mother, because my mother, my pastor always talks about my mother, because my mother was a cusser. But I still know that she's in heaven because she was a good woman. She just cussed. You make her mad, you stepped on her toes. She had something to say. But she was a good woman. But you can hear people after they're gone by how they resonated in your ear and in your memory. And of course, which attaches to your emotions, which is your heart. But, this mellifluous kind of idea that we don't always say about friends and family, if we pay attention, we know that that's a new word that we can just add. Yeah, they had a mellifluous voice. I just remember them saying certain things to me about how much they loved me, how much they cared for me, how much they trusted me, all of those things. So when we go to our first L of mellifluous, we talk about it being lifting, raised to a higher position or level. Sometimes you can hear somebody's voice and it will lift you up just because you heard them. You knew it was them. You might be sick and you hear a certain voice, that's it. Or you might not be feeling well and somebody calls you on the phone, that's it. It lifts you. So it says raised to a higher position or level. And it also means to lift, to hoist, to heave, to haul up, to boost, to elevate. When you hear somebody that elevates you just by listening to them, that's a good thing. Hold high, pick up, enhance, and make better. Because sometimes we feel much better when we hear from people that just lift us up just to hear their voice. We're just so happy. When we move on in our word of mellifluous, we talk about it being liquid. Now, they've been using that word a lot lately. I'm quite sure you have heard it. They talk about something being liquidy or liquid. It means there's some fluidity to it. There's some flow, meaning it could go this way, that way, anyway. Okay. It says, but it says of sound, clear, pure, and flowing and harmonious. I use that one because it talks about the voice. Mellifluous is really speaking of someone's voice. So it talks about it being pure and clear, fluent, distinct. How many people have you spoken with that have ever had that voice that you could just get lost in whatever they're saying? Not really paying attention to what they're saying, but just listening to the voice. The voice becomes almost like a control mechanism. You just love it. You love hearing it. I think Barry White was one of the singers that people could sing, or Isaac Hayes. People could hear these voices and just remember what the voice did to them, And remember the man, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, they found him. He was on the street. He was homeless, and he was speaking. And I want to say it was like, I don't know, maybe it was St. Louis, maybe it was Chicago. I don't know where he was, but he was a homeless man. And they stopped to ask him a question about something that was a disaster. And he spoke on it about what he had witnessed. And they ended up making him an online radio commentator, just because of his voice. His voice was that appealing. It pulled you, it pulled you in. And, when you're on the radio, they're not saying anything. So you have to have a voice that people will listen to. You can't be an annoying voice. It can't be somebody that's just there, like and Charlie Brown, the teacher. Okay, it couldn't be that. It has to be a voice that's clear, that's giving information that really makes it welcoming, that they will tune in again for tomorrow's show and then tomorrow after that show. So when somebody talks about it being liquidy, that means they're clear, they're pure, there's some flow to their voices, and there's also some harmoniousness, meaning it's comfortable to listen to. So when the other synonyms talk about it being distinct, clarion, tuneful, dulcet, sweet, mellow, and soft. So that is a person that has that mellifluous voice. Mellifluous. Oh, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Good to see you. Let me make sure I see the name right. Good morning, Ahimira. Good morning, Alam. It's good to have you in our space this morning. Welcome. As you heard the word, it is mellifluous. It's a different kind of word because most of the time we say, oh, she talks softly. He didn't say much. I couldn't hear him, But mellifluous is a new word to add to your vocabulary. My eye of mellifluous is illuminating, meaning help to clarify or explain, meaning you shedding light on something. You're giving information, but people are listening to it in such a way that the voice delivers it in a beautiful way that they love it. They love hearing it. And so it talks about it clarifying things, making it explicit. They rationalize it for you, so you don't have to worry about it. They already explained it. And this is one of my favorite words, which is elucidate. And elucidate is to make it clear, make it plain and clear, elucidate, to explain it and to shed light on something. I think one of the things about people who are in radio and TV and even now podcasting and what I'm doing, my baby doing, it's all about what it is that you put out in the atmosphere of voice, and people hear it as worthy content. And so it has to be delivered in such a way that people hear it, people receive it, people acknowledge it, people accept it, and then ultimately that people can use it again for themselves. That's the importance of what it is that we do when we're, for myself, I'm a vlogger. For other people, they're podcasters or they're radio announcers or they're, TV personalities. But anyway, all doing with the same thing, which is delivering content. So when we're illuminating, we are giving information, plain and simple. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it in that whole idea that we're getting people to hear us, for what it is that we're putting out. My next word, in following up and adding words to this whole word of mellifluous, I talk about it being fluent. When we are fluent, that means we're able to express ourselves, and we're able to do it articulately. We're able to do it so that people hear us. They hear us. They hear the words that we're saying. So, when we're fluent, we're articulated, we can be eloquent, we can be expressive. And for me, I use my hands. So I tell people, don't get distracted. Sometimes I use my hands. It says we are communicators. We become coherent in what it is that we're doing and putting out there. Cogent, vivid, silver-tongued. Have you ever met a silver-tongued person that was so silvery that when they left, you had bought everything that they were selling with their tongue? Like the car salesman telling you everything is on the car with wings and it flies and it sings and it does all these things, and you get it, and all it does is drive, and it drives slowly, and something's wrong with this and that, but you don't know that because you listened to the singing that was going on, the eloquent speaking, the lifting of the information, that you accepted it. We do. We accept things like that. So when we look at that, we also talk about the persuasiveness of our voices. So when we have this mellifluous ability to speak quietly, directly, making sure that we rationalize things, we're explaining things clearly, we elucidate it, all of that says is that we're able to get the work done, get it out, get the information out so that people hear us. When we next we talk about my U. So the word again is mellifluous. Is MELLIFUL. OUS. Mellifluous. Almost like the flu is right there in the middle of it. Mellifluous. My U in mellifluous is for unriddle. When we unriddle stuff, that means it says it's a verb, makes it very rare, but we solve the problem. We make it easy for people. We make it where they understood or understand what it is that we are saying. So we make it where we clear it up. We make it so they don't even have to interrupt you. You can give them the information, and by the time they ask you the question, they have none. Or they're ready to ask you a question because you've explained most things. And sometimes we have to go back and explain again. But the idea that the riddle of what it is that was being explained is done once we get done with the conversation, that the person understands what it is that we're translating for them, unraveling it, unscrambling it, making it plain so people understand the word. When we move on in our word of mellifluous, we talk about it being original. I think no matter what information you're using, be it where you received your research, if you are clear in what you're giving, you say, like I started off and I told you I got my definitions from, I researched my definitions through Oxford Dictionary, or sometimes I do use Merriam-Webster, but I will use Cambridge. I use all of them, to see how they vary between each other. But I'm looking at my original statement that when I come out, I told you who provided the information, but as the direct deliverer of the information, it would be my original statements of this is making it easy and understood. I'm going to break it down for you, making it that you understand this word by the time I'm finished. By me breaking down with all these different, what I would call synonyms to the original word, you have more, you're adding more to the original word than what it really was. You have the word, and now you have all the other words that can go with it to make it where it becomes a part of your regular vocabulary. That's how I look at it. So when we talk about it being original, it's going to be clear, plain, transparent, easily perceived, visible, meaning I have nothing to hide. So you can go, I'll spell the word for you, go find it for yourself. Same word. Observable, and it says it's a dependable form of communication. So I'm communicating to you all, telling you that I didn't make this stuff up. It's not my stuff. The content I'm delivering is how I'm delivering it, and the fact that it is an opportunity to add more information to your foundation of words. And I think I told this recently. It says the average person has about 50,000 words in their vocabulary. I'm helping you to look at getting 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 words. I love words. And a lot of times if we go back and we get to the base of the word, then we can figure out anything else about that word, just because the base of the word is the foundation for other words. It starts with that. Like, everybody knows medi means something in the medical area. And so that's what they do. But anyway, when we move on in our word of mellifluous, my second U is for unravel. When we have unraveled certain things, that means we've gone into it, we've investigated it, we've looked at it. So, there was someone talking to me the other day, and they were using the wrong word. I didn't correct them. I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because they were so fast in telling me what they needed to tell me. I still got the gist of the conversation from what they were saying. But I didn't change their enthusiasm for getting that information out to me. And in fact, I appreciated it. And sometimes we do, we're talking to people, make mistakes, but it doesn't mean that we're forever in that position to have to stay there. We can correct it later on. We correct it for ourselves, and then when we use it again, it's correct. But when we unravel something, it says we investigate and solve and explain something that may be complicated to others. We make it plain for them. We make it where it's no longer puzzling. We make it where we've solved the puzzle. We've given them the tools to solve the puzzle. So unravel means to solve or resolve and explain. And there's that word again, my favorite word, elucidate, decode. It says untangle things, reveal things, because sometimes we don't know enough to reveal things for ourselves, so we need others to help us. And then it says to clarify, make it where other people can understand what it is that you're saying. I believe that anyone, if they listen to others who have a good, will and understanding, good job. I just saw that. Where they have a good understanding of words, that once you listen in a conversation, even if there's a word in there that you don't know, if it's given to you in the context of your understanding, then either you make a mind's note of it and look it up later, or you just realize that based on where it is placed in their conversation, what the meaning really is, how the meaning makes sense. Or maybe it doesn't make sense to you. You can also say that. I know our pastor always talks about know the Bible for yourself, because sometimes people will interpret for you what the Bible says, but you have to get the meaning and understand how it affects you. And so that's what you want to do. Now, my last letter, I know this was a long one today, in mellifluous, MELLIFLO, LU. I want to say O, MELLIFLOUS. So it's a long word. It's sweet. After all of that build up, it's sweet. It talks about the sweetness of someone's voice when they deliver information that is easy on the ears, and the information makes it, so, comforting as it goes into your mind and sometimes even your heart. Words that people say change us. They can make us where we're loving and kind and willing to help, or they can make us mad and angry and ready to fight. Plain and simple. That's what they can do. But when the use of the word I can't even say it now, mellifluous, you look at the fact that it's uplifting. It is a sweet word, pleasing and general, delightful. That's the definition. It says it's pleasant, it's agreeable, it's a nice word. It's a nice way of just discussing the ability to communicate with people or listen to other people. It says it's gratifying, it's good, it's acceptable. It's one that people would consider to be an attractiveness in others who can speak. And it's also inviting for more conversation. That is our word, mellifluous. Mellifluous. I don't know why I got caught up at one time, but hey, life is. But listen, I hope today has been a day that you will take this word and use it. Use it. Say, I had a mellifluous conversation with someone who they were so quiet, but so eloquent in their delivery of information. I enjoyed it. It was really wonderful. Once you hear that, you got the word. You can use the word. You can give it to them. Share your words that you're learning. Share them with others. Let them know that I'm out here. There's no charge for what I do. I just enjoy doing it, and hoping that you all enjoy it too and keep coming back. If you would do me a favor and just share this video so that others can see that there's words to be learned. As long as we're down here, we might as well learn, And they said that is one way to ward off Alzheimer's, is to learn new paths in your brain every day, learning new words that make sense to you, for the sole purpose of not only for you to communicate with others, but for you to also continue to have a robust vocabulary and not be limited by, a brain that has a tendency to atrophy. We don't need an atrophied brain. We need a brain that is full and bright and able to accommodate anybody's conversation, from the child to the queen or king. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We just need you to do that. But listen, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Happy New Year again and again and again. I'm going to see you on Monday. I'm going to rest a little bit more today, making sure that this little tickle in my throat will get gone, be gone by Monday. And I have more stuff to do, so I need to be well. All right. Love you guys. I appreciate very much. Pass this on. All right. See you soon. See you Monday. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.